Good morning. Today's devotion comes from No Compromises by Jim Burns. It's a passionate devotional to ignite your faith. And this story struck me because so often I find myself in kind of this position stereotyping people. So it reads, I love the lesson this mother learned from her innocent child. We were the only family with children in the restaurant. I sat Eric in a high chair. Suddenly Eric squealed and said, "Hi there!" He pounded his hands on the high chair tray and wriggled and giggled with merriment. I looked around and saw the source of his merriment. It was a man with a tattered rag of a coat, dirty, greasy, and worn. His pants were baggy with the zipper at half-mast and his toes poked out of his would-be shoes. His shirt was dirty and his hair uncombed and unwashed. His whiskers were too short to be called a beard, and his nose was so varicose it looked like a road map. We were too far from him to smell him, but I was sure he smelled. His hands waved and flapped on loose wrists. "Hi there, baby. I see ya, Buster," the man said to Eric. My husband and I exchanged looks that said, "What do we do?" Everyone in the restaurant noticed and looked at us and then at the man. The old geezer was creating a nuisance with my beautiful baby. Our meal came, and the man began shouting across the room. "Do ya patty cake? Do you know peekaboo? Hey, look, he knows peekaboo." Nobody thought the old man was cute. He was obviously drunk. My husband and I were embarrassed. We ate in silence, all except for Eric, who was running through his repertoire of admiring Skid Row bum, who in turn reciprocated with his cute comments. We finally got through the meal and headed for the door. My husband went to pay the check and told me to meet him in the parking lot. The old man sat poised between me and the door. "Lord, just let me out of here before he speaks to me or Eric," I prayed. As I drew closer to the man, I turned my back, trying to sidestep him and avoid any air he might be breathing. As I did, Eric leaned over my arm, reaching with both arms in a baby's pick-me-up position. Before I could stop him, Eric had propelled himself from my arms to the man's. Suddenly, a very smelly old man and a very young baby consummated their love relationship. Eric, in an act of total trust, love, and submission, laid his tiny head upon the man's ragged shoulder. The man's eyes closed, and I saw tears hover beneath his lashes. His aged hands, full of grime, pain, and hard labor, gently, so gently, cradled my baby's bottom and stroked his back. No two beings have ever loved so deeply for such a short time. I stood awestruck. The old man rocked and cradled Eric in his arms for a moment, and then his eyes opened and sat squarely on mine. He said in a firm, commanding voice, "You take care of this baby." Somehow I managed to say, "I will," from a throat that contained a stone. He pried Eric from his chest, unwillingly, longingly, as though he were in pain. I received my baby, and the man said, "God bless you, ma'am. You've just given me my Christmas gift." I said nothing more than a muttered thanks. With Eric in my arms, I ran for the car. My husband was wondering why I was crying and holding Eric so tightly, and why I was saying, my God, forgive me." I had just witnessed Christ's love shown through the innocence of a tiny child who saw no sin, who made no judgment, a child who saw a soul, and a mother who saw a suit of clothes. I was a Christian who was blind, holding a child who was not. I felt it was God asking, "Are you willing to share your son for a moment?" When he shared his for eternity, the old ragged man unwittingly had reminded me that to enter the kingdom of God, we must become as little children. How can you take on a childlike faith today? What specifically is missing in your life of faith that perhaps was more present in your life as a child? This comes from Mark chapter 10, verses 13 through 15. People were bringing little children to Jesus to have him touch them, but the disciples rebuked them. When Jesus saw this, he was indignant. He said to them, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. I tell you the truth, Anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it. How often do we become like a child to enter the kingdom of God? Something to think about today. Thanks. Bye.